Former police chief Raymond Cole strutted into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom like he owned the place. His steps echoed with arrogance, chin lifted high, badge still pinned to his chest even though he'd been forced into retirement months earlier. Today's hearing was about a stack of unpaid parking violations and abuse of authority complaints, small in appearance, but serious in implication. Cole didn't treat it that way. With a smirk, he leaned on the defendant's table as if it were his personal desk. The courtroom audience whispered, sensing the tension already filling the room. Judge Caprio looked up, unaware at first of who was standing before him. "Good morning." "Sir," he said warmly, just as he greeted everyone who entered his courtroom, whether they were a nervous teenager or a stubborn old man. "Please state your name." Cole replied sharply, "Chief Raymond Cole. I'm sure you've heard of me." But Judge Caprio continued with his calm routine, unfazed. "All right, Mr. Cole, let's take a look at your case." For a moment, it seemed like any ordinary hearing. Cole huffed loudly. "Judge, let's skip the formalities. I practically ran this town for 20 years. These tickets are meaningless. I shouldn't even be here." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Some recognized him instantly. Others only sensed the hostility growing in the air. Judge Caprio raised a gentle eyebrow. "Well, everyone gets treated the same here, sir. Let's start with the first violation." Cole scoffed. "No offense, Judge, but I'm used to people listening to me. This is a waste of time." Caprio continued calmly, flipping pages. He didn't know yet the extent of who he was dealing with, but he soon would. Audience hook. But when Judge Caprio realized who was standing before him, the entire courtroom went silent. Judge Caprio began reading the first citation. "On May 14th, your vehicle was parked in a restricted zone." Cole interrupted immediately. Yeah. I had business. Important business. I don't need permission to park anywhere." Caprio paused. "Sir, please let me finish." Cole rolled his eyes. Leaning back as if the courtroom were beneath him, Caprio continued. "There are also multiple complaints from citizens claiming you used your influence to avoid consequences." Cole smirked. "Judge, I was the consequence. People respected me." A murmur spread through the audience, not admiration but discomfort. Caprio set the file down. "Mr. Cole, I'd like to hear your explanation for all this." Cole shrugged. "I dedicated my life to this city. I handled criminals, corruption, and chaos. And now I'm being dragged in here over some petty accusations? I've earned better." For the first time, Caprio leaned forward. "Respect isn't earned by force, sir. It's earned by behavior." Cole scoffed loudly. "You think I don't know respect? I kept order. People followed my lead." Caprio's tone stayed patient. "Tell me about your service. How did you become chief?" Cole smirked. "Because I get things done. Because people fear me enough to cooperate." The room stiffened. Even the officers standing guard exchanged uneasy glances. Caprio nodded slowly. "I see. And do you believe the law applies equally to everyone?" Cole looked almost amused. "Judge, I ran this town. The law worked through me." A heavy silence fell. Engagement break. "Have you ever met someone who impressed you with just their humility?" Comment yes, if you believe respect always wins. Caprio tapped his pen thoughtfully. "Mr. Cole, you speak proudly of your position. But I'd like to know, outside the badge, outside authority, who are you as a person?" Cole stiffened. "I'm someone who deserves respect. That's all." Caprio stared at him for a long moment, the tension now thick enough to cut and he had no idea this was only the beginning. Judge Caprio folded his hands. "Let's step back from the violations for a moment. I'd like to understand the man behind the uniform." Cole raised an eyebrow, uncertain where this was going. What's there to understand? I did my job. Caprio asked, tell me about your early years. What led you into law enforcement? Cole sighed impatiently but answered anyway. I grew up in a tough neighborhood. Crime everywhere. I learned fast that strength is everything. If people don't respect you, they walk all over you. So the first became a cop, then sergeant, then chief. I climbed the ladder because I wouldn't let anyone push me around. Caprio nodded. And did that belief help you? Or hurt you? Cole glared. It made me successful. But the audience sensed something deeper. A man hardened by insecurity rather than driven by purpose. Caprio asked softly, did you ever struggle? Ever feel overwhelmed by the responsibility? Cole hesitated. For a brief moment, the harshness in his eyes softened. Look, when you're chief, everyone expects you to be perfect. You can't show weakness. People depend on you. But, yeah, it was stressful. Sometimes too much. But I had no choice but to keep control. Caprio leaned back. Control is not the same as respect. Cole tensed again. It kept the city safe, Caprio replied. Did it keep you safe? From yourself? The question hit Cole harder than anything so far. The courtroom grew still. Cole straightened, defensive once again. Judge, I didn't come here to talk about my upbringing. These tickets are ridiculous. They'll be dismissed anyway. Caprio frowned. Why do you think that? Cole smirked. Because I'm still the most influential man in this city. Several spectators exchanged shocked glances. Caprio asked quietly, do you believe influence puts you above consequences? Cole shrugged. It always has. For the first time, Caprio closed the folder completely. Now, he was no longer dealing with a simple case. He was dealing with a mindset, a dangerous one. Mr. Cole, Caprio said. Voice firming, power without accountability is corruption. Cole's jaw tightened. Careful, Judge. Caprio didn't flinch. I'm simply stating a fact. Cole leaned forward, whispering harshly but audibly enough for the courtroom to hear, I run this town. Not you. Gasps filled the room. The guard stepped forward instinctively, and Caprio's expression shifted. No anger. No fear. Just disappointment. Judge Caprio spoke calmly. Mr. Cole? Earlier you mentioned you ran this town. Would you care to explain? Cole didn't back down. Judge, for years this city followed my commands. People respected me. Politicians, business owners, officers, they all listened. Caprio nodded slightly. Listened? Or obeyed out of fear? Cole clenched his jaw. Sometimes fear is necessary. The audience reacted with low murmurs as the truth spilled forward. Caprio opened a second file that had been quietly placed on his bench by a court officer. Mr. Cole, are you aware that the Attorney General's office recently submitted investigative reports regarding your conduct as chief? Cole froze. The confidence slipped for the first time. Those are lies. Political attacks. Caprio read a line. Allegations include intimidation of citizens, misuse of authority, retaliatory actions against officers, and interference in local investigations. Cole raised his voice. I kept order. Those complaints came from people who couldn't handle discipline. Caprio looked at him steadily. Or from people you silenced. Cole's breathing quickened. Judge, you don't understand the pressure of running a department. You think the law is clean and simple. It isn't, Caprio replied, but integrity is. The courtroom fell quiet again. Then Caprio asked directly, Mr. Cole, are you telling me you truly believed you were above the law? Cole's answer was a bitter whisper, I am the law. A collective gasp swept through the room. Even the officers behind him stiffened, clearly disturbed. Caprio removed his glasses slowly. Mr. Cole, thank you for your honesty, but I need to make one thing very clear. He leaned forward. In this courtroom, nobody runs this town but justice. Cole scoffed. Justice is whatever I say it is. Caprio shook his head. No, sir. Justice is what the law says it is. And then Judge Caprio said the words that broke the tension completely. Officers, please step closer. Cole's eyes widened. What are you doing? Caprio responded, ensuring this courtroom remains safe. Your behavior indicates you may pose a threat to order. Whispers exploded throughout the court. Is the former chief being detained? He's losing control. Cole snarled. Don't touch me. I still have power. But the truth was undeniable. His power was slipping away right in front of everyone. Judge Caprio took a breath, steady and firm. Mr. Cole, I want to share something with you. Cole glared but stayed silent as the guards kept close watch. Caprio began. When I was young, my father taught me something simple. Respect is not demanded. It is earned through kindness and fairness. I carried those words throughout my life. He paused. The courtroom listened with full attention. My father had no uniform, no title, no authority. But he had dignity. People respected him not out of fear, but out of admiration. Cole shifted uncomfortably. Caprio continued. I've met thousands of people in this courtroom. The rich, the poor, the young, the old. Some come here ashamed. Some come here angry. But the ones who leave the biggest impression are the ones who carry humility. He looked at Cole directly. You could have been one of those people. You had a chance. Cole's throat tightened. For the first time, his expression flickered with something almost vulnerable. Caprio turned the folder again. I read about your early days in the department. You were passionate, dedicated, respected by your fellow officers. Somewhere along the line, you chose fear over leadership. Cole whispered, people stopped listening unless I pushed harder. Caprio nodded gently. Leadership is not measured by how loudly you shout, but by how calmly you stand. The courtroom grew emotional as Caprio's words settled. He continued, you wanted to keep people safe. I believe that. But you lost sight of how safety is actually built through trust, fairness, and compassion. Cole blinked, trying to maintain his stern facade. Caprio's voice softened. Mr. Cole, I don't see a monster. I see a man who forgot the values he once had. A silence spread across the room. Even the previously intimidated spectators now looked at Cole differently, not with fear, but with pity. Caprio closed the file carefully. Your father, your family, your younger self. Would they be proud of this version of you? Cole didn't answer. His jaw trembled slightly. The judge sighed. I want you to understand something before this hearing ends. Power is temporary. But character is forever. Several people in the audience wiped tears. And for the first time, Cole lowered his head. Judge Caprio straightened. Mr. Cole, it is time for my decision. Cole exhaled shakily. For the parking violations, Caprio said, you will pay the full fines. Authority does not excuse you from responsibility. Cole nodded silently. For the complaints regarding abuse of power, Caprio continued, these have been forwarded to the Attorney General for further review. This courtroom is not the place where that judgment is made, but it is where accountability begins. Cole swallowed. Caprio's voice deepened. However, your behavior today, including threats, declarations of superiority over the law, and intimidation, cannot be ignored. Cole's eyes widened. Judge Caprio raised a hand. I listened to you speak of fear as a tool. I watched you attempt to control this courtroom. That ends here. He turned to the officers. Mr. Cole is to be taken into temporary custody for contempt of court. Gasps erupted. Cole stepped back. No. Judge, please. Caprio shook his head. This is not punishment. This is consequence. Perhaps it is the first step toward rediscovering the humility you once had. Cole's shoulders sagged. Caprio concluded, You may yet recover your character. But that journey begins with accepting that no one, not even a former chief, is above the law. Cole whispered, voice breaking, Thank you. Judge. The courtroom watched in stunned silence as he was escorted away, not forcibly, but willingly. Almost relieved to no longer pretend he was untouchable, Caprio looked around the room and spoke to everyone present. Let this be a reminder. Power without humility becomes corruption. Authority without fairness becomes tyranny. But responsibility restores dignity. The audience nodded, many visibly moved. The moment the clip aired online, it exploded across social media, not because a former police chief had been detained, but because of the powerful exchange between a man who once ruled by fear and a judge who ruled by integrity. Millions watched the video of Cole saying, I run this town, followed by Judge Caprio responding with unwavering calm. In this courtroom, justice runs this town. People around the world commented on the transformation they witnessed in Cole from arrogance to introspection. They admired Judge Caprio's patience, wisdom, and ability to turn even the most difficult confrontation into a lesson on humanity. Teachers shared the clip. In classrooms, parents showed their children, police officers, community leaders, and justice advocates reposted it, calling it one of the most powerful court moments ever captured. One comment read, This wasn't a judge humiliating a man. It was a judge reminding the world what leadership truly is. Another said, Cole didn't need punishment. He needed truth. And Judge Caprio gave it to him. People praised Caprio's ability to balance compassion with accountability. They admired how he didn't yell, didn't belittle, didn't retaliate. He simply stood on principle. And it was enough to humble a man who believed himself untouchable. The story became a symbol of something greater. Reminder that justice isn't about power, it's about character. A reminder that even those who lose their way can find their path again. A reminder that humility is stronger than intimidation. The clip became one of the most shared courtroom moments of the year. And viewers everywhere felt inspired by the emotional transformation captured on camera. Final call to action. If you believe true leadership comes from humility, type humble in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this.